I love it.
Huge, which is crazy. And I know it kind of leads into the last brain tool you have for us, which I'm really excited about. And it's more about systems.
Spot on. And I think the third one is create and trust systems with people, not your willpower. Now, I know that's a long-winded one, but I'm going to break it down. Okay.
Please give us the details.
And in preparing for our fourth episode, Sammy, which is going to be on habits and sort of routines, I was reading Atomic Habits by James Clear in preparation for it. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking about that in next week's episode, so look out for it. And he's got a quote that is so similar to what you talked about with the Navy SEALs, but it hit me. Quote, I think we need a quote count. I think this is quote 10, but
we should get paid by quotes. I would love some affiliate marketing quotes. If anyone does that out there, we are open to opportunities.
So the quote is as follows: people don't rise to their goals, they fall to their systems. That's by James Clear. And it really thought about it, like, which is that, sorry?
Can you break that down a bit?
I'm going to break it. So we always have a tendency with this whole idea. Let's just take fear as an idea. We think about the ideal of where we want to be, right? And we think about setting all these goals, like I want to overcome this, I want to do that. But we don't actually think about how we could design our life so that we are, again, exposed to things and we're actually acting on that. So the classic question that I'm asking yourself is like, if we want to overcome a fear, there's two parts. What's the system that you can create that if you fall over, and your willpower is not there, which again, I think people, a massive misnomer is to rely on your willpower a lot. Don't rely on your system. What's the system that you can create? I'm going to get tangible in a second, but based on that system, then putting someone with that system. And that's what we call a social accountability. So for example, and this is a nice leeway into next week, but Sammy, if I wanted to run, as a really clear example, and I was scared of running, I was scared of the exercise and the response that I was doing, there's a really practical system that I can create, which is I could put my shoes right next to my bed, right? I might not mean I'll do it, but I'm going to increase the probability because going for a run is really hard. Putting on my shoes is not that hard, right? And you talked about that baby step. The next thing I could do is I could set 3 alarms. The next thing I could do is I could get Sammy, we might do this, to call me at 7 o'clock. And the next thing I could do is say, hey, Sam, meet me here at 7:15. And you start to introduce a social accountability component. And if there's one thing we've learned about human history, and I don't think this is a great thing, but it is what it is collective suffering is a lot easier than individual suffering. And the whole idea of suffering together, right, and having someone there that can guide you is actually a really important part. So for all these tips we've spoken about, involving someone that you trust in the process means that if you fail to reach for the stars, at the very minimum, your mean, your average, your systems get you there. And so you want to make sure you think about it. So getting really practical is a final one. Once you've done that system and designed it, which we'll talk about next week, you track your progress. It's a wall tracker. It's ticking off so you have a positive feedback loop that, hey, I'm actually doing this over and over and over again. It could be just a calendar where you do X and you do the Seinfeld method, right? Where you start to build up this momentum. And hey presto, after 7 times, 8 times habit, you've broken down those barriers. And hey, who knows, you might have overcome your fear.
That's so powerful. And I've actually used this without even realizing I was using it in my own life. So for example, I used to, the fittest I've ever been in my life was when me and a friend lived near each other's houses and we made each other sprint 3 times a week by just showing up at the other person's house. If I wake up before him, I'd show up at his house. If he wake up before me, he'd show up at my house. That's super interesting. Systems. And like, there's a final one on that, public speaking. Like I've been fortunate to train hundreds of people in public speaking based on the work that we do. And one thing that we've built into the system is to always make sure that people are preparing in pairs and that they're doing it in pairs. They're going back and forth. They build a relationship so it becomes a safer space. And that's the whole idea and premise, which I know we're going to speak on another episode of psychological safety, which it creates that safety net. So those tools that we've given hopefully are going to increase the probability of you overcoming your fears.